Welcome to the Monday Mile edition of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show, your quick hit of inspiration and practical advice to kickstart your week strong. Each Monday, I'll be joined by one of our Silver Edge coaches as we tackle one specific topic you might be struggling with, whether that's nutrition, fitness, mindset, or lifestyle. And we'll break it down into clear, simple, actionable tips you can start using today. And here's the best part. You can knock out this episode on your morning walk. Just lace up those sneakers, hit the pavement, and let us coach you through the first mile of the week. Okay, let's get moving. Coach Jess, welcome to the Monday Mile edition of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. How's it going?
Good. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you. So we are recording this at 11:24. That's what time it is right now. Have you eaten yet?
Yes.
Have you had your breakfast? Oh, you have?
Yeah.
All right. So is that something you normally do in the mornings?
Yes. The time always varies, but
Okay.
I do eat breakfast.
Yeah? You're a big
Yeah.
breakfast person? What's a standard breakfast for you?
My standard breakfast is usually like 2 eggs and egg whites. Sometimes also a oikos yogurt, like a protein yogurt, and fruit, or if I'm working out in the morning, also a piece of sourdough toast.
All right. Get those little extra carbs in for
Yeah.
your workout, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what I want to talk about today, Jess, is intermittent fasting, because this is something that just won't go away. A couple of episodes ago, we talked about social media and all the conflicting information there, and why, how social media influencers are just sometimes saying outrageous things in order to get our attention. And intermittent fasting keeps coming up. So I thought we would kind of pull this apart and let's give our recommendation for an intermittent fasting protocol that would be appropriate for 90%, say, of the people in this audience. But before we get there, let me ask you this. What's your history with intermittent fasting? Have you ever played around with it?
I've played around with it. What I ever did was like the 16-8 fast. So, fasting for 16 hours, eat for 8 hours. More typical for me was the 12-hour fast, just not eat after dinner. And then, I broke my fast with a cup of coffee in the morning. It always worked for me. I wasn't hungry after dinner. And I usually am pretty busy in the evening running my kids around. So I'm not bored. I'm not home eating out of boredom. I'm not really thinking about food. I get home, get everything ready for the next day and go to bed. So it wasn't there. But my sleep was started. I started monitoring my sleep wearing my Apple Watch, which I had never done before. But I think we were talking about it once on either a podcast or a coach's call. And, I think you wear your Aura ring and Monica tracks with something else. And we were talking about deep sleep because I'm a sleeper. I fall asleep. I usually stay asleep. But I started wearing my watch and noticing I was only getting less than 20 minutes of deep sleep.
Is this while you were doing your,
Yes,
the 8-hour?
the 12-hour.
The 12-hour.
And sometimes it was more than 12 hours. Sometimes I'm eating dinner early at 4:30 or 5 because I have to be out the door. So sometimes it might have been closer to 13, 14 hours. I wasn't thinking about it too much. Just my rule was just don't eat after dinner. Don't, nothing again until the morning. And my sleep, Monica suggested eating a little something before bed, nothing, not a meal, but something small. So I did start doing that. And for me, it helped with my sleep. But everybody's different.
Everybody's different. Yeah.
And it's
so
things you just, one of those things you just have to track.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. So let me ask you this. When you were doing the 16-8, that classic intermittent fasting, why were you doing that? What prompted you to do that?
Something I saw online.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
For my age, weight, activity level, that's what was recommended. So I was like, I might as well try it. It wasn't necessarily health benefits that I was looking for at the time. It was more, and by health, I mean like blood sugar or, anything, any autoimmune or anything like that. It wasn't like health related that way, but I was looking for more energy and, and better workout, feeling better in my workouts. So more like fitness, improving my fitness and things like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, and I'm similar in my background. I have played around with intermittent fasting. I'll break fasting into two camps here. So I still practice prolonged fasting periodically. So that would be anything over 24 hours in my book is a prolonged fast. But, so I'll do sometimes a 24 or 48 hour fast. That's less for health. In fact, it's not in my personal case for health reasons. It's more of a spiritual practice. It's more of a getting in touch with my body and myself. But once upon a time, I'd read a book, I think it was called The Man Diet. And so this was like, hey, if you want super hormonal health and vitality and energy, and they very much talked about this eating in a 8 and eventually a 6-hour window. I tried it and I hated it. I just hated it. I couldn't sustain it. I didn't like it. I woke up hungry in the morning, and I'm not a guy that likes to work out fasted. All of my workouts are in the morning, and it didn't work for me. I didn't stick with it long enough to see, did it move any metrics. I didn't do a blood test before and after or anything like that, but it just wasn't for me. But in general, I think that intermittent fasting gets sold to us in a couple of different ways. And the first is weight loss. So there's this idea that if we do intermittent fasting, we're not having this glucose, we're not having this blood sugar spike, and there's not glucose available for the body. So it's going to burn more fat. Now, so that's how it was. That's one way it was being sold to us is this miracle weight loss, fat loss cure. Unfortunately, there's some really, really good science now they have a control group that's eating regular meals at regular times, and they have an intermittent fasting group, and they control for the macros and the calories exactly. And guess what? There's no difference. There is no statistical difference in those. Even when we take that out over a longer period of time, you're not losing weight because you're intermittent fasting. You're losing weight because you're probably eating fewer calories because you're eating a smaller window. So there's that. The second reason it is sold to us is for the health benefits. So the idea goes something like this. Well, when I give my body a break from eating and I do this regularly, there's this primal reason why I would do that. Because once upon a time, we would go through periods of food scarcity. Fair enough. That's true. But it wasn't regular. It's not like every day we ate in a 6-hour or an 8-hour window. But the idea is something like, hey, this gives my body the opportunity to do cell autophagy. See, these cells are constantly breaking down, and we need to clean out the dead material and all of that. Well, newsflash, a couple of things here. And again, we have really good science on this. That's what sleep is for. It's not like there's no cell autophagy happening in your life because you're not intermittent fasting. It happens while you sleep. And that little tiny bit amount that, in that extra 6-8 hours you're not eating isn't really moving the needle all that much. Now, science does show that at about 34 hours of fasting, we really accelerate that cell autophagy. So if that's the side you're looking for, maybe once a month or once a quarter, you do a 2-day fast, something like that, if you're trying to chase more of those longevity gains. But really, I think this idea that there's a magic pill for either health or vitality or weight loss with intermittent fasting is pretty much been disproven. So I'm not a big fan of it. And the other reason I don't like specifically for our age demographic intermittent fasting is we're always telling folks that are looking to improve their body composition, want to be strong, healthy, capable as they age, to eat more protein. Specifically to aim for a gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. And when you're eating in a 6 or 8-hour window, that's really tough to do, right? So just some foods for thought there. Here's what works for me. And Jess, I'm going to kind of counter what you just said, because what I've landed on for intermittent fasting for me is 12-12. Basically, more or less. I don't measure it at all. But what I do is I stop eating and drinking after dinner. And then when I wake up in the morning, I have a high protein breakfast. That's what works really well for me. But here's why I recommend most people start with that. If you're curious about intermittent fasting, just start with 12-12. Meaning you have 12 hours of not eating and 12 hours of eating. And the way you do that is just don't eat or drink after dinner. And here's why I like that. Now, look, you're a nutrition coach and you said, hey, I found that if I have a little snack before bed, that helps me maybe improve my deep sleep or something. Love it. I think everybody should be a self-experimenter. But most people, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Most people, the things they eat and drink after dinner are not really healthy things that are helping them, right? It's
Oh,
popcorn, it's
yes, I
beer,
agree.
it's
Yeah,
wine, it's chips, it's cookies, it's ice cream. It's not, you're probably having like cottage cheese
I
and
am. Or
right.
it's I'm
Yeah.
having like a half a yogurt or a banana.
Right.
That's
Okay. That's different than
hmm
what most of us are eating and drinking after dinner.
right.
So I would suggest that anybody who's curious about intermittent fasting, again, not a fan of, the more restrictive you make it, the least I'm personally a fan of it. But if you just start with, hey, I'm going to stop eating and drinking after dinner. I'm
hmm
not going to have anything, and see how how that works for you. And in the morning, and now some of you are like, well, I'm just not hungry in the morning. I would say that's a red flag.
Yeah,
If you wake up and you're not hungry, that's a metabolic red flag. You
yes.
should be hungry in the morning. So just there's that.
hmm
But and then start the day with a high protein breakfast. And there you go. So that's what I found works for me personally. I think it's a really good place for anybody who's just interested in the hype or wants to talk about, intermittent fasting, or, how important is when you eat, is to start there.
Yeah. I mean, you do want to give your body that break.
You do want to give
You
your
know,
body that break. Yes.
and for some people, not eating before bed gives them better sleep,
Hmm.
and all of that. I typically eat a very early dinner, so that 4:35, most people are probably eating a lot later, which is really why
Yeah.
I have to eat something. And it's not necessarily right before bed, but it's not, it's probably at 7 or 8. So
Hmm.
I'm still going a long time without eating. Now I have a question. It comes up a lot. Do you drink coffee when you first wake up in the morning, or do you eat your breakfast right away?
I have some water and I have black coffee. So I'm
Okay.
still in a fasted state
Yeah.
until I eat. So it's typically, now on my workout days, I get up, I have a cup of coffee, do my morning routine, and then I eat and I'm out the door.
Yeah.
On non-workout days, there's a little more time before that breakfast happens, but maybe it's
Okay.
only 30 minutes, something like that. But
All
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm eating pretty early. Now, here at the Silver Edge, of course, we have our Silver Edge nutrition pyramid,
hmm
and basically it's a hierarchy of things that are nutritionally important. Whether your goal is fat loss, muscle building, just being lean, strong, capable, performance, it doesn't matter. The priorities don't change. And so if you imagine a pyramid, at the bottom, the base of that is what you eat. So again, I'm saying that if you're interested in dropping 20 pounds, the most important thing you should consider first is what you eat. Not how much you eat, but what you eat. And that would be whole foods, prioritizing protein, getting rid of ultra processed crap, all the stuff we talk about all the time. The second most important piece, so moving up in our pyramid, is going to be how you eat. And without going into a whole lot of detail, that's going to talk about eating in slowly and mindfully and not in a distracted way. Don't eat at your desk or wolfing food in your car. Don't be on your phone or turn off the electronics while you eat. So that's the second most important piece. And then thirdly, of course, energy balance matters. The amount of calories you eat obviously matters. So that's how much you eat. And then the very tip top of our pyramid is when you eat. It's the least important component of really your nutritional strategy, for regardless of what your goals are, whether that's muscle building or fat loss or perhaps both, right? I'd like to lose a little
hmm
fat and build a little muscle, right? So that's kind of how we frame it here. All of
hmm
those things are important, but there's a hierarchy of importance. So if you're somebody who's looking to get a quick win, your quick win isn't going to be intermittent fasting. It's going to be cleaning up the foods that you choose to eat regularly, day to day. Jesse,
Yeah.
would you buy into that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people that look for intermittent fasting for that quick weight loss fix
Yeah.
are, as you said before, maybe not eating a good quality of food in that time. Probably by the time you go to break your fast, you are starving. And
Hmm.
it's harder to make a good choice when you're feeling that way. So,
Right.
I know we've talked about emotional eating before, but
Hmm.
you're like, oh gosh, I'm so hungry, I'm doing this, but it doesn't matter what I eat right now because I'm not going to eat for 18 hours um,
Yeah.
after this. And some people tend to switch to that mindset. I'm not saying everybody does, but it's, the quality of that food that you're eating really matters.
100% with you there. All right. Any other advice on intermittent fasting here before we sign off today?
No, my only advice would be like you said, try it. If it's something you want to do, start with that 12, see how you feel. And that might help some people wake up hungry. As you said, that's a very important pillar of health. Waking up hungry, it proves that you are pretty metabolically healthy, that your
Mm-hmm.
body got good rest and was able to do what it was supposed to do overnight,
Yeah.
restoring everything. And think about it, nights that you don't get good sleep. I know for me, if I'm only on like 3 or 4 hours sleep, I do not feel hungry. I feel a little sick. So, a little nauseous, like, my, things aren't functioning as they
Right.
should.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
we make different food choices when we're sleep
yeah,
deprived,
yep,
right? There's some reasons, physiological, biological reasons for that, but everybody knows that intuitively, right?
yeah. Oh,
When you've
100%.
had a crappy night's sleep, you're reaching for comfort food, not for health food.
Health food, right? And then,
Hmm.
you know, just see that might really help you kind of restore that, within yourself so that you do wake up hungry and ready to go if you haven't snacked up until you're going to bed at 10 or 11 at night.
Yeah, so that's the big takeaway here, folks. If you get rid of the snacking up until 9, 10, 11 at night,
Hmm.
because typically, unless you happen to be one that's snacking on like Jess, cottage cheese or yogurt or nuts, or maybe you're having chicken breast and kale for your snack. I'm not talking to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm talking to everybody who's having wine or a cocktail, or
Hmm.
they're having popcorn, or they're having cookies or whatever, chips, things like that. So that change in behavior of thinking of, okay, I've closed my eating window at 7 p.m. and breakfast is at 6 a.m. or 7. So then I've got 11, 12 hours. I have done what intermittent fasting was biologically baked into my body. We call it breakfast for a reason, because we're breaking our fast, and that's what sleep is for. So, folks, we're going to leave it there. We would love to hear from you if you've had any experience with intermittent fasting. Maybe you are somebody who's eating in a 6 or 8 hour window and you absolutely love it. We'd love to hear your experience. Get into the Over 50 Lean Body Blueprint and let us know what you think over there. Those of you on YouTube, this is Louie, by the way. He is my daughter's dog, who I dog sit in the afternoon. He wanted to say hello, so everybody say hello to Louie. But that's what we got for you this week. Until next week, folks, stay strong. Okay, folks, that is your Monday Mile for this week. Quick, simple, and packed with power. If you found this helpful, be sure to share it with a friend who's walking their own path to better health. And hey, don't forget to tune in this Wednesday for our full-length episode of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. Until then, keep walking, stay consistent, and as always, stay strong.